All roads lead to India AI Impact Summit, and joining me today is IT Secretary Mr. S Krishnan. Mr. Krishnan, many thanks for speaking to PTI.
Thank you for having me.
Big excitement, big buzz. It's a topic of conversation everywhere. And I wanted to ask you, as New Delhi prepares to host the India AI Impact Summit, what is the core message that New Delhi wants to send to the world on AI? Innovation first, regulations first, or responsible growth?
I think the key message that we want to send is that whatever happens with AI needs to be human-centric and inclusive. There needs to be democratic access to AI resources, and it needs to be done in a way that people and humans are in the center of this process. Moreover, I think we need to look at it as a huge positive impetus to the overall economy, and the possibility of using AI or possibility of leveraging this technology to see growth across the world, across every part of the world, including India, including the rest of the global south, so that it becomes truly the inclusive technology which puts the whole of the globe on a higher growth trajectory, with benefits of prosperity reaching everybody.
So the summit also takes place at a crucial time, and we are seeing a bit of a turbulent messaging also coming in terms of what it will mean for jobs and what would it mean for maybe IT services as we know it. And I want to come to that in just a bit. But when you step back and look at the AI Impact Summit, what are the big things that you would be watching out for? What are the big sessions and panel discussions you think would be of most interest? How many people are going to attend it? Who are the big names one can expect?
I think the summit itself is proving to be a very large event. We are expecting about at least 20 heads of state and heads of government. We are expecting leaders of about 7 or 8 international organizations, including the United Nations Secretary General. We are expecting ministers from about 45 countries, and in addition, representations all put together of close to 100 countries. In addition, we are expecting close to about 100 CEOs of important companies across the world, and many other academicians and researchers and experts in the area of AI, including 2 Nobel laureates. And the total number of people who have registered already, and it's growing very rapidly, it's snowballing. As of this morning was nearly 125,000 and growing, and a large number of people are actually registering now. But we want to keep the doors open. We want to give more and more people the opportunity to come and visit the expo, where about 400 booths are being set up. Most of the leading companies, both from India and overseas, in the AI space. And in addition, you're also going to see almost about 450 startup pods and about 8 or 9 country pavilions, many state pavilions. So it's going to be a huge show in terms of both the expo and the large number of nearly 600 parallel sessions across multiple venues taking place. So I think it's a kind of unprecedented event, and therefore we would like to give as many people as possible the opportunity to come and visit and see for themselves what is unfolding at Bharat Mandapam between 16th and 20th of February.
When it comes to outcomes, some of the biggest names in the world of technology and AI are going to be here, as would the global leaders, prime ministers and presidents of various countries. What can we expect in terms of outcomes? Are there some big ticket investments that are likely to be announced? MOUs, what according to you should we look out for in terms of, maybe a declaration at the end of it?
I think fundamentally what we are emphasizing here is some sort of meeting of minds on how technology, which will probably define the way the world progresses in the next decade or so, how exactly it gets our approach to it, how
it gets diffused.
International approach to it actually converges in a sense, and so that we are able to take a coherent and in many ways a coordinated approach to the way this technology unfolds, the way we can collaborate on making this happen for the good of everybody. I think that is the primary push and motivation. Investment announcements may happen, collaborations may happen. All of those are an incidental occurrence at an event of this nature. I don't think we are fundamentally looking at this in terms of, there will be investment commitments. It's not an investment summit. It is a summit on AI. It's a summit to expand our understanding of AI. It's a summit to expand how we believe AI will impact humankind. And what is it that we need to do to make sure that the beneficent and positive impact of AI is expanded to the extent possible?
So we hear about these foundation models, the large language models, and one of the conversations that the ministry has been having for the last many months, if not a year, and great excitement building up there, is our own sovereign model. Can we expect some announcement there? Are we going to likely to see a large language model coming out of India? Will there be industry level bottom up approach that the economic survey talked about, which is a better approach for India to go by? What are some of those LLM related announcements?
I think what the IndiaAI Mission supports foundation models, and foundational models include some large language models, some small language models, multimodal models, vision models, quantitative models, a range of models. And as you're aware, the Prime Minister interacted with 12 startups and research institutions which were working on their models, which we will, some of which in the coming week, we should see some unveiling of some of the models, some of the work that has been done under the IndiaAI Mission.
Right, sir. Let's turn to AI regulation and trust. And there is a global concern now around AI safety, misinformation, and deepfakes. What are some of those issues that we can expect see discussions around in the summit?
I think India's approach to the way we've approached this issue of deepfakes and misinformation is a robust approach. As you're aware, we put out our final rules on synthetically generated information, which requires the labeling of such information to take place. We believe that this fundamentally represents a very democratic approach where people have the right to know what is the nature of the content that they're viewing. And is it something which is synthetically generated or is it authentic? We've struck the right balance. What we are requiring is a labeling of the content, provided it is lawful content. And, or rather, let me put it the other way. What we require is labeling of content. Now, just because what is required is labeling of content, it does not imply there's a license to put up unlawful content. So this is the approach that India has taken. And we believe it's a very balanced approach. We believe that labeling and watermarking in some sense is the way to go to preserve trust in AI and preserve trust in a very beneficial tool which can be used. And therefore, we would expect that that is reflected in some of the outcomes of this summit.
Which brings me to the next question. Are we, as India, as a country, are we likely to propose a broader global framework around AI labeling? I'm sure there's a lot of interest that came in from other nations as India took those steps. And coincidentally, that enforcement will also come on the last and final day of IndiaAI Summit. Those labeling and IT rules will come into effect. Could we expect a broader framework, a global framework around this as well?
We will see how the consensus emerges around this. There is a working group on safety and trust. I expect that they would discuss issues of this nature and we should see some good outcomes.
Have other nations reached out already to say that, we're very keen to know the model that you followed, the consultations?
They have all been very interested in what we've been doing. I understand from my colleagues who have been leading the various working groups that there's been considerable excitement and involvement in what has gone on in the working groups. And there's been a lot of participation by a number of countries. And we are now finally sort of putting together the final reports of the working group, which will also get released. And that will provide the necessary input into the final declaration, which will come out.
On AI labeling, before I move to the next issue, which is jobs and AI, what is the feedback that you got from tech giants and social media platforms? Because it also increases the accountability, and rightly so, when it comes to hosting the AI generated content, AI content.
I don't think there's been any strong pushback from any of the technology giants in terms of the rules not being able to be complied with. Some of the technological tools, they may require a little more time, they may require some tweaking, but they've not formally got back to us yet. But nobody has sort of pushed back saying that these are impossible to implement or any such, because I think the rules have been out there for consultation for a while, and in essence, and those have not changed in terms of how the rules themselves would be enforced. So I think there is an understanding that this is a requirement of the times, and they would be willing to comply with Indian laws in this manner.
And they're okay with the time frames? So from 20th onwards, they will have to start looking at labeling, or will you give them some more time?
So far, nobody has come and specifically asked for more time.
Right. So on jobs, with automation accelerating, and we hear, sometimes the doomsday, prophecy around job losses. How is government preparing India's workforce for AI-led disruption, and especially IT services? Because that is one of the topics that even Economic Survey this time talked about, a disruption in IT services. We of course heard a large AI company, announce a tool which people say is going to wipe away a lot of what IT services actually did. Is that a threat for our model, the India IT services model? And how do you respond to this, concern around job losses?
I think, you see, there are two or three things, and I think I've said this many times over. The total number of, AI for the first time threatens knowledge-based jobs. Unlike previous rounds of the Industrial Revolution, which basically automated jobs which were done by manually, jobs which were done manually. They saved manual or human labor. For the first time, knowledge work is being substituted, and therefore there is some disquiet saying, how will this pan out? That is one aspect. The second aspect is that in the Indian context, the number of knowledge workers, so the number of white-collar jobs, is far less as a proportion of total jobs than it is in many Western countries. Therefore, the overall fear that we need to have is significantly less. The second part of it is that India's own white-collar workers are mostly in the technology sector. So they are the ones who can be retrained most effectively and reskilled most effectively to take on the newer kinds of jobs that AI would possibly throw up. So this is something which we have been discussing with the IT and ITES companies in India for quite some time, and they are also preparing themselves for the transition. The transition will take place in terms of certain types of jobs may become redundant, like that of coders and programmers, or you will need far fewer of them than before. But certain other kinds of jobs will become more extensive, and that is the people who will create models, create applications which can be then deployed, and those who will actually deploy it in different situations. Those are the jobs which will increase and grow. So for those kind of jobs to actually increase and grow, the skill sets required will be different. And there's also the need for domain expertise of the relevant domain in order to identify whether an AI model is or an AI application is doing a good job or not. There would still have to be a human in the loop, as it's called. So my understanding is that newer kinds of jobs will be created, and therefore we have to prepare for that, as opposed to worrying too much about the jobs that will go. This happens all the time in the process of, when technology advances, some older kind of jobs will go away, newer kinds of jobs get created, and we adapt to that scenario.
Only this time it's like almost overnight.
Not quite. I think it will take a while before the whole process sort of rolls out, and I think there is literature to show that the anticipated job losses have not happened to the same extent. There's also literature to show that every time that a new technology comes, we tend initially to overestimate the impact of the technology. It's only later that we come to terms and figure that the technology could, in the short term we overestimate the impact. in the long term, we underestimate the impact and we underestimate the ability of human ingenuity to adjust to the new situation. So I'm quite confident that we will adjust to the situation, but I think it's important to focus on skilling, upskilling, training, and retraining. And that's what we are attempting to do through the IndiaAI Mission, through programs like Future Skills Prime, which MeitY runs with NASSCOM, and through various other initiatives that ministries like Ministry of Education, Ministry of Skill Development, and so on are taking, because we have to have a skilled workforce which is able to take on these challenges. And in some ways, India is best placed there. One of the reasons we ranked third in the AI Vibrancy Index put out by the Stanford University is because of the talent pool that we have and because of the kind of research which is going on in the AI space. So I'm confident that definitely in India's case, we'd be able to adjust to this new reality with some changes in approach, with some focus on training, some focus on upskilling.
Mr. Krishnan, when you look at India's approach to AI governance, where does India position itself vis-a-vis how US looks at regulation and AI governance versus how Europe has looked at it, China is looking at it? What sets us apart? What is our priority like?
See, I think we need to understand that, everyone talks about is it innovation first or regulation first and so on. We need to understand that I think globally everyone wants to explore what is it that this new technology can do and what are the negative impacts that it could possibly have. Now, the concerns of each society and the concerns of each country are different in terms of where the negative impact could lie. And therefore, I think we need to sort of understand that our approaches to this legislation or approaches to how to regulate AI will depend upon the objective situation we find ourselves in. So if you look at the European Union, they have enacted a law at the European Union level, and that has attracted a lot of criticism saying that they are over-regulatory in their approach. Now, they have other concerns. One of the key concerns they have is that in their structure, if the European Union doesn't legislate first, then they might be left with a patchwork of 27 different legislations from the various member countries. We don't have that concern. Our constitutional scheme is such that this is an area where only the federal government the union government can make a law. And in that context, I think we are fairly comfortably placed that if we need to legislate and if we need to regulate, we can do it quickly and we can do it in a way that doesn't affect innovation very much, which is why we say that for us, innovation first is the approach. We stand ready to regulate when a need arises. And to the extent possible, we will use existing legislations and existing regulations, and which is what has been advocated by the Principal Scientific Advisor headed group on AI governance. And their report to the government has basically in their guidelines, this is the key aspect that they speak about. And I think we have been fairly successful thus far in addressing our concerns which matter to us, like deep fakes or misrepresentation and the need to label content. These kind of issues we have addressed quickly. In addition, as far as personal data is concerned, we have the DPDP Act and the framework to manage the data concerns. We are addressing in parallel the concerns relating to copyrights and so on. There is a working paper on that. So I think we are doing it in our own way at our own pace. So each society, each country does it in a way that suits their objective situation, and I think India's approach is what is best suited for their own needs.
And so government has always maintained that there is no need, at least as of now, to have a standalone or a separate AI law.
That is right. We will legislate when the need arises, and we stand ready to put together a law if need be at short notice.
After Bechley focused on safety risks and Seoul on corporate commitments, Paris summit on implementation and inclusion, what next steps can we expect from the India AI Impact Summit? Is it likely to result in some sort of a binding framework, some sort of a leadership role for India in Global South coalition, or a new model of AI governance led by India? What can we really expect?
I think a binding framework is not a realistic outcome. I don't think we're even targeting that. India's leadership is something we'll have to establish through performance. And I think it is a wonderful opportunity to showcase the kind of work which Indian companies and Indian startups and others are doing, and also a wonderful occasion to showcase the kind of scholarship and the kind of knowledge and the kind of deep thinking which has gone into this space in India in the recent past. So all of those are going to be important elements of what the summit is going to be about. But I think it's a wonderful occasion for people to collect on one platform and one forum to talk about issues which concern them, and that should, I think, result in valuable outcomes in the way that we can actually think about AI in the future.
On data centers, there was a huge push coming in through the budget, but we also saw some big ticket announcements before that, even before the budget sweeteners from Google, Microsoft, Amazon. Are there likely to be more investment, the big ticket investment announcements expected in the AI Impact Summit?
Wait and see.
Right. And finally, Mr. Krishnan, what does artificial intelligence mean to you?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I think I would look at it as a tool that can enhance human capabilities, a way in which we can be more efficient and effective, and a tool that we can use to actually deliver far better quality in terms of services within the governance space and also in other areas of human life, so that we just see quality of life improving for everyone.
On that note, Mr. S. Krishnan, thank you so much for speaking to PTI.